All right. I am now joined by someone who is in the Clemson Ring of Honor, the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. It's none other than the All-American, former All-Pro Pro Bowler, and podcast host, Levon Kirkland. Levon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for asking.
Well, thank you very much for bearing with me as we work through some technological issues here that get us a little tripped up to begin with. But as I mentioned, outside of all the football stuff you've been able to earn, you are now a podcast host. So how has that transition gone for you?
Well, thus far. I'm two right now. I may want to do another one that's kind of talking a little bit overall about football, college. But yeah, I really like doing it. I enjoy talking, having conversations, especially when they have to deal with football. So myself.
No, well, at least talking about football is one thing I can assure you that we'll do today. Um, Now you're working VP of Development for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. How exactly did you get into that role, and did perhaps getting inducted into the Hall of Fame there blow the doors open for you to work to actively grow the organization?
Well, the story goes after I finished coaching with the Arizona Cardinals, I decided that I wanted to maybe do something that my own and also to back in some sort of fashion. So I kind of called the guys up from South Carolina Football Hall of Fame and told them that I really wanted to be involved. And so they agreed with that. They let me be the VP of development. Basically, what I do is I kind of raise funds, and I'm somewhat of the face as far as the public face is concerned. When we're doing podcasts, we're doing events, being a connector as far as all of our Hall of Famers, and then also our student athletes. And what we do with the what we do with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is basically we have a problem which our students in South Carolina are third in the nation as far as college and collegiate readiness. So we felt that we needed to reach out and educate, empower, and encourage these young people. We feel like we have a platform with the South Carolina Hall of Fame because of all the greats that we have in the Hall of Fame. Guys like George Rogers, guys like Richard Seymour, Sterling Sharp, Steve Murray, just to name a few. And we felt a program that can help these kids really have a successful transition as far as their career or college is concerned, that we're doing a great job. So our goal is to get our numbers back into 10%. But the reason why I joined, I wanted to be part that's bigger than myself and also to live a purpose-driven life. So I'm doing that with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. And what a lot of times we do, we interview guys affiliated with South Carolina to state of some kind of form or fashion, whether it be an athlete or it could be someone who was born and raised in Georgia but played football at Clemson. So we just try to make that connection. And I'm proud of what we've done thus far. So, like I said before, we do have a podcast called Insights with Levon Kirkland, and we get to talk to these incredible athletes and students. We try to reach out to different types of businesses if they want to grow with us, that our podcast gives them an opportunity to hit a market that they may not hit and to grow along with us, something really grand as far as the community is concerned.
Absolutely, and to do something that's, as you said, bigger than yourself, to live a purpose-driven life. I mean, a lot can be said for coaching in having that be your career trajectory, but you had a taste of that and you ultimately decided to go this route. I mean, at the end of the day, how did you decide between going strictly down the coaching road or doing something that's obviously still football based, but something more towards being a personality?
Well, I think myself, a lot of times you look at your experience and you look at your life. And I think a lot of times when you do that, you can kind of really feel a way that you can be useful and you be successful. And you take those strengths and you try to put it out there and you try to make it go. And I feel like that's what I've done is I've taken my life experiences as an athlete and also life experiences just being a man. And you combine that and you try to find a niche that you can help because there's always a problem you need to solve. So that's what really kind of occurred to me. I enjoy coaching football, but I wanted to do something a lot bigger. And that's touch lives, and that's to touch those lives at an early age. I was a student
Absolutely.
athlete myself, and I understand what it feels like to, really have to survive the gamut of football career. And I just wanted, I wish myself that I was a little bit more well-rounded coming up. So this is an opportunity to preach to anybody, but to give them guidance and help them along their journey. So that's one of the reasons why I did it, because I just knew what I went through, and I want to make sure that at least the student athletes are equipped to navigate their life beyond football.
Absolutely. And you certainly had to navigate a lot of personal, hurdles, as anyone does. But because you're in the public light, some of that is more public knowledge than most private citizens. So that part aside, because of course that has a huge hand in sculpting you to become the person that you are. When you look at the football and athletic side of your life that helped shape who you are, I mean, you played with so many great coaches and players. Is there any one, two, a handful of coaches that really stick out to you as some of the men that helped you sort of be in a position where you are now, where you could face some of those challenges?
Well, I was fortunate in a lot of ways that it all started off with a coach named Terry Fires. And Fires was different than I am as far as the outer appearance. He's a shorter man, blonde hair, uh, white guy that comes from Pennsylvania. I am from the South, little town called Lamar, South Carolina, African American man, and we just kind of meshed together when we went to high school. And he was really one of the people that saw the talent that I had for the game and told me that I could take it to another level, but I really had to commit to it. And that really struck a chord inside of me because I felt that I had the opportunity to go to the next level too. But when he said that, it really fed my soul. So Coach Myers definitely will be one of them because he really helped me with the start of this journey. Other guy, we had Danny Ford as my college head coach, and Danny was tremendous in a lot of ways. He really was. He really connected to others. I think Ken Hatfield was another coach I had after Danny left that really fit my son personalities. But I think sometimes you have to navigate when you're talking. When, I went to the NFL, of course, Coach Cowher, Marvin Lewis, guy named Tim Lewis, Don Mitchell, Dick LeBeau, Don Capers. There were guys that really helped me to become a professional and to get awards you can have as far as being on the NFL team. And I had to put Charles Bailey, who was in pro scouting at the time, that was also a mentor of mine. But, some of my teammates were mentors. They didn't really know that, but I kind of followed their pattern, like Damani Dawson, Robinson, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Dean, Jerry Flosky. Guys like that really mold me and help me become better. And I think really simply the game of football just teaches you so many life skills and so many soft skills that really come handy as you go along. Things like working with a team, working with that, understanding the concepts of getting knocked out and getting back up, having individual goals, and simply put, just caring for another team, for another teammate. So I would say, to wrap it up, those were the things and some of the mentors that I had as I went on my football journey.
No, absolutely. And there's so many, right? I mean, how do you sum up, so many years in the NFL in just 2 minutes? I mean, you did the best that you could.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
tough.
it's a tall task to ask of someone. But just thinking specifically about getting into the NFL. I saw you at a press conference. At one point you would, you looked at the jersey numbers available, and you didn't want to take Lambert's number, you didn't want Jack Ham's number, but 99 was available. And in that same breath, basically saying that you thought you'd be lucky to play special teams. How did you approach just your mindset of trying to just make a career in the NFL, being that guy from just, okay, what's my jersey number, to making Pro Bowls? How did you elevate your game year after year?
Well, it really takes steps. It really didn't. It wasn't a magical moment or a magical pill that I took. When I first got into the NFL, I switched positions from outside linebacker to inside linebacker, and that was totally different for me. So I had to get accustomed to that. Then also just the mindset of the NFL game, from being just a special teamer to being a starter and to be on the Pro Bowl level. That kind of comes with confidence for a while. But one of the things that really helped me to develop was I got to a point where I just really trust my eyes. And what that means is really trusting what you see and be confident in what you see and going with that. Because in our position on the defense, you're doing so much reacting. You're trying to be a little proactive sometimes with the blitz that you do, but you're being reactive. You're trying to see what's going on at the moment. Once I got to that point, I was good. But the 99 jersey thing was just, I wanted to be my own person. Didn't want to really follow in the footsteps of anyone, even though you do. I just wanted to have my own identity. And at that time, wearing 58 or 59 did not give you your own identity. So I took 99 as number 44 in college and in high school. And I thought that, the same digit, double digit number would work for me. And I think it really did, because of my size and everything. 99 seemed to be appropriate. So I ended up putting on that jersey and, just kept climbing, really. So it was really a training moment. It was just always, and, once you get comfortable, you allow your athletic ability to come out. But also, being an inside linebacker, you had to be a leader. I was a signal caller. So you're a leader kind of automatically. But when you go into your skin, then you become a little bit more of your personality really does evolve. Because I make a change from being an outside who didn't have to be that vocal. I brought a lot of energy to being a linebacker where you have to be vocal, because if you're not vocal, then you don't get the plays off and you don't get people lined up. So you have to be a little bit more of an alpha male. So that was really what happened to me, and I ended up playing for a very long time. So just a blessed and fortunate career.
It was certainly a perfect storm, and I don't know if anyone's worn 99 as a linebacker since you. So I mean, you want to talk about putting your stamp on something? No one's tried to do it since.
Well, that position is more of a defensive line number, but
Oh yeah,
oddly enough, all the linebackers we had at the time wore numbers in the 90s. Chad Brown, 94, Greg Lloyd wore 95, and Kevin Green wore number 91. Matter of fact, our front seven had 90 numbers. So it was kind of a unique thing at the time. But yeah, I think 99 as an inside linebacker or middle linebacker is definitely a different number that you probably don't see often when you're talking about linebackers. But, I thought it was a cool number. I really did. I just thought that it was kind of, listen, of numbers, wild thing of numbers. I just thought it was a rebel number and it was different. And I always thought of myself as a little different.
Uh, Definitely. And I think that the film kind of backs that up. Now, if 99 is more of a defensive line number, I mean, you could make the case that at the size that you played linebacker, you more or less had that frame. I mean, Robert Turbin, who had most recently played for the Seattle Seahawks, a running back, was speaking to me about Marshawn Lynch, saying that there's just some guys that have a different mode. Physically, they're just different, and there's nothing you can do to bridge that gap. How? I mean, it's widely reported that at times you were playing at 275 pounds or even above that. At not someone that's that tall. I mean, are you 6'1"? But you could still move the way you could move.
I'm 6'2", and
Oh, okay.
when people ask me how you do, like, how can you be that big or that quick? I go back to being in high school and being from a smaller school, you pretty much had to do multiple sports. Most likely 9 times out of 10, you wasn't just playing one sport or one side of the ball when it came to football. So I ran track and I also played basketball 3 years, both of those sports for 3 years. And I really do believe that those sports really developed me as an athlete. So then when I go to, I even returned punts and kickoffs in college. High school, believe it or not. And I was a tight end. And a lot of people thought I was going more so to college to play like a split end tight end position. But when I get to Clemson, they really put me at outside backer, and I felt like what I did in high school really helped me as a player as far as athletically is concerned. So when I got to the NFL, I switched positions again, going from being an All-American outside linebacker to being an inside linebacker who's never really played inside linebacker before. So when people ask me how that happened, I felt like my athletic ability allowed me to play at a position that most people would have said, hey, you need to be on the defensive line, because I can do everything that a linebacker who was 30, dare say 40 pounds less than I was. I can cover the tight end down the middle. I was good in coverage. I was good stopping the run. I could blitz. I could do it all. And the reason why I feel that I could do it all is because I was able to play basketball and run track and get some different dynamic movements that you may not get from just doing one sport. It's just being able to have a range and then putting that range into a specific sport. So that's what really happened to me. Just a really kind of raw athlete, but then when it came to being a professional, putting all that athletic ability into one position. And although I was bigger than most, I was probably I probably had lighter feet. I can turn my hips pretty well. So I had the quickness in a sport like a running back, but I was just in a bigger frame.
Yeah, absolutely. A very rare breed, someone that was able to move at that size. Now, the Steelers are famous for that 3-4 defense, blitzing outside linebackers. How do you think that the NFL is going to see the return of the 3-4, like how Cowher used to run it, in what made guys like yourself and all the other guys that you mentioned playing linebacker going back to the steel curtain? Like, are we going to see a return of that? I mean, or is that going to be part of an era that is just another chapter in history?
Oh no, I think the 3-4, 4-3, 3-3-5, the 50 defense is really about the personnel you put out there. If you can put the right personnel out there, 3-4 can work out just just fine. Really can. If you get linebackers, outside linebackers who can really rush the passer and also have range enough to cover, if you have the inside linebackers who can do the same, I really feel like every defense is every defense. A 4-3 can change into a 3-4. A 3-4 can change into a 4-3. It's really all about the personnel and the people you have out there. So to answer your question, I think a 3-4 defense will be around for a while, and people will find a way to work it and to play it. But I think when we played it, their quarterback was mainly behind the center, under the center, and it didn't really give him a chance to read. So we really pushed the issue by sending multiple people from multiple places. So it kind of confused the line, and it definitely confused the quarterback. Nowadays, because you do have the shotgun, you're able to see those things quicker and get rid of the ball quicker. So the blitz cannot get there on time. So I don't know if you'll see I think you always see a form of Blitzburgh defense, even in today's game. You see a form of it, but it's probably ran out of a different style, whether it's a nickel, dime, what have you. It's some of the same blitz concepts, just coming from different kind of schemes.
Gotcha. Now, the last 2 years of your career, you played the middle backer in a 4-3. What was more fun, the inside linebacker being one of two in a 3-4, or the 4-3 middle? I mean, did you enjoy that transition? Because the stats showed that you were very effective doing it. But ultimately, if you had to pick one, which was more of a natural position for you? Do you think?
Well, I think that 3-4 was pretty much born in that defense. The 4-3 for me took a little bit of time to adjust, but when you're an older player, you kind of know some of the trade and how to position yourself to be in really good position. So although I enjoy 4-3, I like the inside linebacker position. It was complicated sometimes, and you see a lot of things, but I liked it because we were so successful, and it really is a defense that kind of featured the linebackers. And so you can't go wrong with that if you're going to be featured. So I like that defense simply because I had a great experience in it. Then also it definitely highlighted the linebackers.
Fair enough. Well, Levon, as we work to the end of our time here, you played on some great teams. I mean, teams that made it to the Super Bowl. And even though it was only 1 year in Philly, 1 year in Seattle, Holmgren, and I mean, the coaching staff that Andy Reid had. You talked about some of the Pittsburgh guys, but Ron Rivera was your linebacker coach. Jim Johnson's the defensive coordinator. Sean McDermott's on that staff. When you think about the best teams that you were on, what was some of the common threads, common characteristics of the best teams that allowed those teams to be one of the best in the NFL?
I think really honest. I think it has to do something with the climate of the team and the atmosphere. The three teams I was on, I was lucky to have some really dynamic, great head coaches. Bill Cowher, Mike Holmgren, Andy Reid. And they created an atmosphere that was it was about winning and a certain style of winning. How you practice was important. How you prepare was important. And you really had to take ownership for yourself, being on the team. You really had to buy into the system. And I think the coaches that can motivate you to go to a higher level, who have a atmosphere or culture or whatever you want to call it in play that works. And they got to be able to, it's not about raw speeches, but they got to be able to navigate those different personalities that come into a draft that's on a team, and some guys are dynamic, some guys are sensitive. So you have to play a role in everything. So I think guys who can navigate everything and able to get their teams to move forward are some of the coaches. So after Mike Holmes, he had a system in place that work, that build champions, but they also build you as a player, And I thought, like I said, before, sometimes you're fortunate. I was fortunate the teams I was on. That sometimes that's the bottom line. You're just fortunate.
Definitely. Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, you got to have some lucky breaks, and um, seemingly getting on those teams definitely put you in a good position. Well, Levon, I have one last question for you, and it's just
Okay.
considering everything that you were able to accomplish on the field, and of course what you've done in your time since being an athlete. What's the best piece of advice that you would give to a young student athlete about how to live their best life and have anything close to the same career that you were able to put together?
It's kind of funny. I was talking to my daughter one time, and she wants to be an actress and everything. She wants to be in movies. And I basically told her that the number one you have to have is faith in yourself. You have to be confident that you can get the job done and that you can be prepared when the opportunity comes. So I think the number one, having faith. I think the other thing is really being prepared for your next steps and for your next journey. All you have to put in the work, and maybe some people don't really like the term work. Put in the time. You got to make sure you are focusing on your reps. You're focusing on your tech, doing the little things that make you better and put an athlete that's equally just as good. So faith, preparation, putting it in as far as work concerned. And then also, I think one more really important thing is I think that you have to make sure your brand is represented in a very positive light. That you are basically a company within yourself, although you play on team sports or whether you're on the field or whatever, you are a brand within yourself, and you have to make sure that your brand comes off the way you want it to come off, not how somebody else thinks or somebody else's evaluation. You have to make sure that your brand is exactly the way you want it to be. And if you do those four things, I think you have the opportunity to go to the next level. If it's not in the sport, it's definitely going to be in life that you're going to the next level. And like we always said, man, football, basketball, sports in general, I think it can really prepare you if you use it correctly.
Absolutely. Well, Levon, thank you so much for taking the time. Really powerful insights. And as we wrap up, where's the best place for everyone to follow you and keep up with what you're doing?
Well, gosh, you would ask me that. Well, on Twitter is Levon _ Kirkland 44. You can reach me there, like Instagram or Twitter. For the Instant Blitz for Levon Kirkland is basically www.sc football spelled out HOF.org. And that's where you can hit me as far as the organization that I work for. But the Levon _ Kirkland 44 is my handle name a lot of times in everything else I do, whether it be Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. So that's, you can get in touch with me, and an athlete out there, or if you have a business that's looking to get more exposure from a different target audience, the Sacramento Football Hall of Fame is definitely something that you should consider. So that's my personal info. You can tell your fans to look out for those. And if you ever need me for anything else, make sure you reach out to me, okay?
Absolutely will do. And by the way, you stuck with the college number over the NFL number when you had to make that Twitter handle. So at the end of the day, 44 beats out 99.
Yeah, 44 was just, it's a high school number too, and I wore it throughout college. And honestly, I wasn't going to be number 44 in high school. I started off as number 80 and tied in and split it. One of our running backs got hurt or our coach like a change needed to be made, and so he put me back there and he a 44 number. And then when I went back to tight and playing outside linebacker, I kept the number. I just love the number. And talking about Brian Bosworth was, one of the characters back then playing linebacker, and he wore number 44. So I just thought it was a really cool number and stuff this time. But 99 too is very important and very so